welcome to this master plan webinar. Thanks for joining. My name is Kevin Madison.
I'm Jill Cohorts.
So we are Miami academic advisors for the GFP, for the Global Field Program. And really we just thought this would be a great opportunity to share a little bit about some common misconceptions, some resources for master plans. We get asked about it quite a bit, I would say. So again, thanks for joining us wherever you are, and whether it's your lunch break or the morning if you're on the West Coast, or if you're just watching this later on. We're glad you're checking it out. So we just thought we'd start with a little bit of introductions of like who we are. So like I said, my name's Kevin Madison. I work as the Associate Director here for Master's Programs with Dragonfly, and my research background is urban ecology and pollinator biology, looking at bees and such. And I've also recently been doing some stuff with elephants, which has been totally different than my previous work, but it's been really fun. And so yeah, that's a little bit about me.
And I'm Jill, and I've been here at Dragonfly for 15 years, currently as the Assistant Director of our Field Program. So that means I spend a lot of time with our Earth Expeditions partners and those of you that have participated in our EE classes. My research focuses on place, so it fits really nicely with the work we do at Dragonfly, looking at important natural areas, particularly in local communities. So that fits really nicely with our GFP mission and work. And I've always enjoyed the advising aspect of all of this, so we were very excited to try this out and see if it might be a good medium for answering questions, having kind of a casual format. So we have some slides that are organized to talk us through several points, but then we'd like to be sure that we answer any other questions that come up for you, and we have a live chat for you to be able to do that, and we'll share the video afterward for those friends that weren't able to join us today.
Yeah, so speaking of live chat, if you're watching this and you've clicked into the YouTube site, you will see that there's a spot you can just say hello via that live chat. So feel free, if you're watching this right now, to give that a shot and just let us know maybe where you're watching from or anything you want to share. If you're willing to do that, we'd appreciate it, and then we have a sense of who's out there. And again, like Jill said, we'll use that for our Q&A in a little bit. And we also have a few questions that you guys submitted if you filled out the form for us, so we'll read those and answer those in just a few minutes. So let's, I guess, get started.
Sure.
Let's go for it.
So we wanted to start out with just the idea of some of the things that we hope you're considering while you've been thinking about your master plan. And each of you is probably in a different year of your progress, from kind of the 2.5 to 5 years that it takes to get through the GFP. But there are some goals that we hope you've been thinking about that you want to try to accomplish by the end of the program. And I listed here that great quote from Gandhi, just the idea about being the change that you want to see in the world, because I think it's a very nice way to capture the idea of what the master plan really is. We're hoping that there's some realistic timeframes and goals that you're thinking about. That can be hard because sometimes these goals and ideas are really massive and they might take 10, 20 years to be able to accomplish, but it's fine that you chunk out pieces of that during the program and as you're working through the GFP. Thinking about the groups, communities, partnerships that you might want to work with and you might have a passion for. Are there particular collaborators that you're thinking about that you think would be a good fit for either pre-existing projects or new ideas that you're thinking about? And then really, who is it that's going to benefit from this master plan? That might be you as an individual, but also what are some of the other groups of people that can benefit from the work that you're doing?
So this might be something, some of these questions you guys could write down at some point if you haven't already. We're aware that some of you might be in the 2019 GFP cohort, and so you're just at the very beginning, perhaps, of thinking about this. And then we sent this to everyone that's still working on the degree. So some of you may be joining at the very end, and maybe you don't have an idea yet, or you feel it should be more clear in your mind and it's not, and that's okay too. We have people, I would say we've experienced like folks that everything comes together at the very end, and then other people that come in from the start and they've like got it all figured out, and maybe it stays like that, maybe it changes. That's okay too. So yeah, so just kind of be open to that, and whatever point in the stage you're at is okay. Let's see here. Whoops. I want to go here. Okay.
Oh, and then I guess just lastly here, always thinking about these Dragonfly core areas. You probably heard us talking about them in the field courses and in your online cohort workshop, but the ideas of community, inquiry, voice, where are you trying to draw these out through your master plan? And then of course the global and local understanding is part of that overall scientific content that we're kind of gaining from all of this. So there probably are areas that you already feel proficient. What are some of the other areas that you can try to draw out of this master's that can just challenge you and that can help your local community or whatever group you'd like to work with for your master plan?
So like if you're thinking, okay, I want to do something on like big cat conservation, it's kind of an example we often give. Maybe should give a different one, but in any case, if you were doing that and you're like, okay, you've kind of figured out a theme, right? But how are you going to, in what community are you going to work with big cats, or, you know, and how are you going to encourage voice, not only your own voice, but the voices of people you're working with? So just, this is always a good thing to come back to and be brainstorming on for your interest.
And for any of us in academics, we probably have one area that you already have some comfort in, and then areas that you need to kind of add into the project. So this is something that hopefully your instructors are asking you about in the field as well, and you can kind of keep thinking about that each year that you're progressing through the program.
I actually wish I had someone telling me to think about community for my PhD, because I would have done more with the community I was in, but there really wasn't a focus or importance placed on that. So,
yeah.
You know. Okay, so this is kind of just the way you can envision your master plan, and it's this diagram here of an umbrella. So at the top level, it's like your master plan is your overall goal, your overall interest or overarching idea. And so it's more like the why you are doing all your projects. It's not an actual project itself. Sometimes we get folks that are like, you know, for my master plan, I want to start a community garden. Well, that's more of a project, right? And it's an awesome project. Totally think you should do that. But why do you want to do that? Why do you want to create a community garden? So thinking about that will lead you to your master plan and being able to articulate it. As I stated, all your projects are the how you are accomplishing the goal of your master plan. And so that's like all of the things that you have in your courses, the assignments and such. And again, the master plan, the MP, is not one big project. It's more of this overall mission statement or goal that you're shooting for. So just keep on thinking, like, what are you doing? What do you want to accomplish? And then why? And just keep coming back to that. And of course, how is going to fit in there too. And so it's okay for that to be just one sentence, and it's okay for it to be broad. I know we had a question that was submitted from Lynn before this, who said, can we see some examples of master plan statements? And yes, we will show you guys some of those in a little bit. How specific or general should the master plan statement be? And so I think that's kind of a tough question, because you want it to be general enough that it's broadly applicable, but also you don't want it to be so general that it kind of is meaningless. Like if you just say, I support conservation, that's a little bit meaningless. So you want to go deeper. So I think each of you needs to figure that out. But sometimes it's like, I support environmental education in X settings, urban settings or whatever. And you kind of go a little bit more specific in that regard.
And you could even add on to that statement and say, for what end goal, right? To be able to promote environmental awareness, or to promote a group of youth who now know where their food comes from, or something that would help you. And so I actually think that broad statement, even that statement really is still broad, but it does, because it doesn't say how you're going to do it, which are the projects that Kevin was just talking about, but it'll get you into that why. Why do you want this to happen? Well, we want the world to be better in some way. And these are the ways that you can kind of help to shape that. So I think that idea of it being one sentence, even if it's one sort of a run-on sentence for now, that's fine. And keeping it at that broad level can actually help you to then create projects that fall under that goal versus creating a goal that's really specific. And then when you create a project that doesn't fit under it, we have a lot of conversations as advisors saying, well, now what do I do if this project doesn't fit, or I'm starting to kind of veer off track. But we'll talk about that later on too, about kind of changes in your projects as well.
I think the way to maybe go is to like say make it broad but compelling. So, you know, and Jill's point about like maybe it's including a demographic group, like who you're doing this for, like are you working with youth or seniors, or you know, and maybe you don't have that focus, but you can focus on a region or a location or what your overall purpose is. So, okay, so yeah, so under the umbrella you have all of your projects and things that you can see here that would kind of fit into this. Now, again, like Jill said, if you look at one of these projects, you're like, you know what, that's totally different than where my master plan is. That's okay. Like this is a Master of Arts. This is not supposed to be this super narrow focused masters. You want to try some different things, and that's fine. And some of those may not fully fit into your eventual master plan. But again, if you make it broad, you might be able to find a way to link it, or you might not see the link now, but you might see it later. And then the handle of this umbrella is the who, the community that you're working with. So that's the other thing to really be thinking about is who am I mostly trying to reach out to here? Again, that might change a little bit, but thinking about the audience, the community that you want to work with.
So a few listed milestones and kind of check-in points that we have on the master plan. You know, each summer you should be discussing this with your Earth Expeditions instructors and community learning leaders. There's usually a several-hour discussion or at least chances on the bus. You know, make the most of the time that you have with one another in person, but also remembering that you can always connect with a colleague about these items to just talk over, hey, can I shoot some ideas past you to see if this might be good for my master plan? Depending on which cohort you're in, there are different milestones that are listed within the workshop. So the first is the master plan idea, and that one, for those of you that just started in our 2019 cohort, that is due on January 31st. So that's coming up, so that's why we wanted to do this now. Even if you're just putting initial ideas in there, remember, it's okay that things are going to change throughout. And as you move forward, each year we're going to be asking you for kind of additional levels of detail. So that's what the master plan detail is, and that's due kind of during your second EE. You're bringing those ideas to the Earth Expeditions course and talking them over again in the in-person portion of the field. Then there are a couple other check-ins that are happening that are leadership challenges. So those are graduation requirements. Many times they also link directly to your master plan, and they may actually become some of the chapters that are really kind of the core parts of what you're going to put together in your portfolio. So one of those is PMW, the Professional Media Workshop class, where you're going to submit for publication. It doesn't have to be accepted, it just has to be submitted. And then you're also, for the LSI class, the Leadership in Science Inquiry, you have a challenge that you'll be creating from that. Some of you are probably at that stage right now, while others of you are just getting started in the program. And then eventually that last kind of culminating piece is in your master's capstone course. And in that portfolio that you're going to create, you're going to basically be showing that master plan. You're going to show that umbrella that we just showed on the last slide, and you're going to be able to tell us how did you go through meeting that goal and being able to showcase the work that associates with that goal. So it's really a neat course. A lot of people have, I think, some like mystical, like what is the capstone about? But we're always happy to talk about it. It's actually really fun to then show your work, put it together in a way that you can feel really proud of. And that's sort of done in a different part of the workshop, and then those are able to be shared publicly. We're going to show you a few later on, and it can be a place where you can just get to know about other colleagues too. There's a lot of great people in this program that are doing really interesting environmental and social work. So that kind of ends in the portfolio, and so your master plan is going to be that theme that's kind of moving through each of these steps that are listed here.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realize that it is stepped out, and so you know that you really don't need to do this all in one thing. I think the master plan, it sounds like this diabolical, like what is my master plan?
Yeah.
You know, like, you got to get it all figured out. We've scaffolded this through the program so you guys can really be thinking about it and moving along.
And Lynn just asked us a question also, which kind of links directly to this about. So she wrote, I've already submitted my idea to the form, what if I want to revise it? So this is really common to happen. There's definitely opportunities to do that throughout the program. I would say in the form right now, it's probably easiest to just go ahead and go in and resubmit the form.
I think I forget how we set up the form, but it may be even that like if you log in, if you're logged into your Miami account and you then click on it, the form, Lynn, and anyone else with this question, you can edit your previous response and it will update in the form.
And if for some reason that didn't work, you can just resubmit the
Right.
form so that we have that copy. And we almost expect these to be changing throughout, so don't worry about that. Think about that as something that can then inform those discussions that you'll have in the field this summer if you're planning to enroll in an Earth Expeditions course.
Cool. Keep the questions coming, guys. And even if you just want to say hello, that's fine too, because we do want this to be a little interactive. That's the benefit of technology. So, some places for you to start. Mind mapping, which we've used as an assignment in some of our courses, can be a good way. So there are softwares that you can use that will help you with this, or just jotting down all your ideas and having lines going off and connecting them and really brainstorming all the people you might want to connect with in your community, all the organizations you might want to. You might do a Google search and just get everything down on paper and kind of have a big old sticky notes, or I don't know, however you want to do it. And then really thinking about, we've had a lot of folks who want to go on and become, a curator of a zoo or a director of an environmental organization, or, go on into, developing, maybe working as an environmental consultant. So whatever your goal, you might want to look at the skills that you need. So like, if GIS is something that you think you will need at the end of this program for the jobs you want to go for, you should use your assignments and your master plan to get there. Same with like getting grants. So that's probably one of the best marketable skills many of you could get. So writing grants, you might write that down as a skill you want to grow. What else?
I think when I think about even the first part of that statement too, the idea of how do you like to spend your time. I did this when I was thinking about my own graduate work, and I knew I like spending time outside. I like spending time with other people. I knew I wanted the project to be something that would get me outside of my own comfort zone. So I think that can really help you too. We all probably have had jobs in the past where we knew once we were in it, it probably wasn't a good fit for us. And so this can be a really nice, just reflective exercise to write down. And maybe not all these things are going to happen as part of the program, but it can at least be kind of a roadmap for you as you're moving forward and thinking about how this program can be a piece to that puzzle as you're kind of moving forward too.
That's a good point, because I would probably write down GIS as a good skill I want, and then I would reflect on it more and be like, you know what, actually I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing that, like necessarily. So let's see. So Google search, web research. I know like some people will say, well, I'm moving a lot in the program and things like that. So are there organizations that have different national chapters or regional chapters that you might connect with regardless of where you are? I know the Cheetah Conservation Fund has chapters in different cities, and so there are different organizations that regardless of where you are, you can connect with. Also, if you're new to an area, just searching whatever it is you're interested in, you might be like, oh my gosh, there's this cool group that works with immigrants and helps get them out into green spaces, or is helping, who knows what you might find and get really excited about. And then the thing that we sometimes see is that people get very excited about, saving the world, or, helping other organizations. So they start learning these great things in the Dragonfly courses and want to share that out. And that's wonderful. But usually the way to approach these organizations, because they're very busy and they have their own agendas and the missions, is to ask them what they need, or to look at their website and figure out what they need or what they might be looking for, and to position yourself to provide that. And then just see where things develop. So even if you're really excited about composting, they might not be, but once you get your foot in the door because you're helping them with their grant, you might, so just kind of be open to working with them and hearing what they need. Also, explain you're a graduate student at Miami University. That will show a longer term interest. It will communicate professionalism, and may get you really connected with some folks in a different way than if you just say, hey, I'm a volunteer, I'm looking for a project. All right.
So we have probably more we could add to this list, but we started with 7 of the tips that we thought would be successful, helping with your success. And I think each of you really are organized people who have your own systems. So always take this with kind of knowing that the map can look like whatever you need it to. But one thing I write quite often in emails to many of you out there is to take 3 deep breaths. And I teach yoga, not here at Dragonfly, but on the side. And one thing that does is it actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So it's not somebody just telling you to do something. It in fact will actually help calm you. And it can feel really big, right? These are big concepts. You want to make big changes in the world environmentally, but just stopping to think about that this is something I can manage and I can maintain and I can do that in a calm way. And also then to figure out what's one step that you can do to move forward. So one step at a time, I think, is just such a nice piece for this because it's a several-year process. This is not going to be done in one semester. It's going to take 2.5 to 5 years for each one of you to get through this process. So remember that and just know that some weeks are going to be more productive probably than others, more successful than others, and sometimes you're just going to be working on the deep breaths, and that's okay. I think the idea that your cohort workshop is out there is something that we like to remind you all because it's very easy to read it once and then really never go back there other than when you're registering for courses. But please review the resources that are in there. There's a lot of good information, and we're going to show you a little bit at the end with some demonstrations too.
Cool. Yeah. So again, you may start out, it's less structured, and that's totally okay. Not everything, we've already kind of covered a lot of these, not everything needs to relate to your MP. That's okay as well. Expect change. I think one of the things also is to just keep talking things out. Mm-hmm. And then finally, you will have successes and failures. One of the elements of this program that's tricky is that these are real world projects. These are things that you're trying to enact in your community. So Jill and I have both dealt with plenty of calls of students in this program who are really stressing because they came up with a great, like sort of professional development type thing they were planning with their school or an after school program or some sort of nature center thing. And at the last minute, it gets canceled because of elements outside of their control. In that case, yes, that's too bad that failed. You still grew as a person because of that experience, right? So I guess, and you can still write about that. So it's not like you need to say, oh my goodness, now I got to take a whole nother semester to graduate or a whole nother year. We understand these are real world projects. There's going to be things you can't control, and you should keep moving and keep writing and keep reflecting on it. So keep that in mind as well. We see there's some more live chat comments coming in. Just I'll mention, because I don't know if this is part of some of you may be having trouble finding it. But if you're watching this on the link of the page where we have the YouTube embedded, it may be that you need to open up the YouTube and view it in YouTube. So I think in the bottom right, usually, I'm looking at Zach, our tech guy here, you can click on that, open it in a new browser, and then you'll see the chat if any of you guys are not knowing what we're talking about with that. But Sophia, thank you for writing us. You're saying you're a first-year student, but I'm taking LSI this spring. I already have an upcoming opportunity that can complete my LSI challenge. And can I submit proof at any time before the 2021 deadline? So typically, LSI is taken in your second year. In rare circumstances, we've approved or it's made sense for someone to do it beforehand, and that may have been the case there for you, Sophia, where you had an opportunity and you wanted to jump at it. You are totally right that you can indeed submit the proof of completing that leadership challenge beforehand, so that's totally fine. I would think it would be good to talk with one of us before that, because there may be some good reasons to stick with the more traditional sequence of taking issues in biodiversity and biology in the age of technology this term, but maybe you've already talked with someone about that. So feel free to email us. We're going to put up our email at the end of this, and we can talk more about that.
Definitely. No, I think that's But the idea that you're bringing up that's really important also is when opportunity kind of strikes, we want to be sure that you all are thinking about it. So we certainly have had questions from folks in their first year saying, hey, I know I have this really cool thing that's coming on, but I think it would be a perfect fit as this project in this class. We can't always approve those because we're not the instructor of that course, but we certainly can look at the work with you and think about that. And we really do realize that you all are adults living in real world situations with projects that might just pop up at work when a boss says, hey, do you want to work on this with me? And you're realizing, oh my gosh, that's completely the skill I've been wanting to gain. It's the challenge area that would fit perfectly with this course. Those usually can almost always fit in some way or another. So I think that's great to be thinking about that already. Typically, the question is the opposite, which is that I have this challenge, but it's not coming up for a year where I'm going to be able to present at a conference. And so now I'll be submitting my information later. So that is typically due about 2 or 3 months, kind of at the start of the semester when you're going to graduate. So for those of you guys that are getting closer to that, you may have already taken LSI, and now you're thinking about, ooh, I really need to get that leadership challenge in. All of that work happens in your cohort workshop. So again, that's another reason we want you to kind of get back there and just remember what's in there so you can post these types of graduation requirements as well.
Yeah, Jackie, well, I'll pop this up so you guys can write
good.
down.
Yeah,
If you don't already have our emails or know where to find
Definitely.
them, there's Jill and mine there. You
And
guys
don't worry,
send our phone numbers.
Sophia and I have been talking.
Okay, so you have. All right, so,
So
all
I'm
right.
good.
So
Yeah,
you already
it's
know,
great.
all right. And then Jackie Siddish, nice to see you here. Can items not written for courses be included in the master plan? And Jackie, yes, you are already doing so many things, so this doesn't surprise me you would have this question. But yeah, I think that's fine if it's relating to your master plan in some way and you want to include about it. There is a page limit though to the master plan that we're enforcing more now because they were just like, it was amazing what people had finished in this program.
Yes.
And they wanted to tell all about it, but it was like too much for anyone to read. So I think just trying to be concise as well. But yeah, certainly if it's a conference paper, I would definitely include some mention of that. So thank you for the questions, guys.
Great.
Keep them coming in. We've also put down Karen and Jamie's contact here because some of you that are watching are likely their advisees, even though they couldn't be on this particular webinar, they'll probably be on some future ones, and they're there to help you as well.
And somebody had asked some questions online who they weren't necessarily able to join us, but there were some questions around grants. Maybe we could talk about that for a few minutes too. The idea, I think, in general was, sometimes grants are really a part of the projects that you're doing, and so that grant cycle might not fit within the course of the class. And so it's perfectly fine that something, particularly this person asked about it in the capstone course. So if you were working on a grant during the capstone course, would it be okay if that grant wasn't finished before the end of the class? And most definitely. We understand that those real cycles are happening outside of the academic calendar. So you would just be putting probably in your reflection or in some portion of that capstone portfolio, you'd be talking over the work that you have done and maybe the work that's to come that would be happening outside of the end of the program for you.
Right. Yeah, and this was Patricia wrote this. If you're watching, this question that we're referring to, and I would say it's the way you worded this. You said my plans for the capstone project will require a grant, and I would just sort of reiterate that the capstone is not really a project. I think sometimes people do think of capstones because in a lot of like interdisciplinary programs, they'll have a capstone which will be a sort of like a thesis project. And that's not really the way we look at it. So it's more of a reflection of your overall project. So I guess the first thing I would say to you, Patricia, is to not hinge your capstone on this one project or this grant. It would be one component of your overall goal. But totally like Jill said, you can do it before, after, or during. And let's see. So, there was a question from Miranda. Miranda wrote, if you are finishing grad school in the spring semester, are you able to walk? At the previous December. You want to answer that?
Yes, you are. And it's awesome. So if you get a chance to come, anybody who's listening, it's really an awesome opportunity. We had the most folks come to graduation this past December in 2019. And it's just really a lot of fun to reconnect in person. A lot of times you're meeting new people that you may have only met in web-based courses. So we always are welcoming you. Or if there's any other time that you want to come by to campus, because it's a little different than other programs, we're not always getting a chance to meet you all in person, but we're right here in our conference room right now doing this webinar, and we love being able to kind of see you guys in person. So if you get a chance to come, please do.
Yeah, we had a little dancing, we had talks, we had all sorts of fun stuff, and definitely recommend it if you guys can make it out. And that's actually, people can graduate in December, and also we have a January graduation for those that just miss that. But the ceremony is always in December, like Jill said, that we do this dragonfly thing, but the actual diploma being conferred can occur in January, can occur in May, but you can walk in that December ceremony, which is the one we recommend if you can make it then. If you end up coming in May, we've had a few people come in May through the years. Just let us know so that you can stop by and say hello to us, because we don't tend to organize anything for that one, but you will see the main Miami undergraduate focused graduation.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, so let's show you guys some things here. Viewing. Let's see, I think I have to escape here, and here we go. Dragonfly. So maybe you guys are familiar with this website. Here we go.
We hope so.
And there's these things on the side. So the first thing we want to because often we just go straight into our courses, right?
And
but
this probably looks a little bit different for you all because we have admin access, so you probably see tiled images along the screen of the courses that you're currently enrolled in.
That's a good point. So, okay, so if you click on portfolios on the left side here, we've added this search function here in the last couple years or so, and you can type in really anything that you're interested in. So if you want to try looking into marine conservation, and you go with it, you'll come up with all these portfolios that mention marine conservation. So you could then click on any of these and get a sense of what people have written about and the projects they've done. So this one here actually has what looks very cool. I want to explore some of this. Yep, video. And towards the point about seeing master plan statements, which Lynn, you had asked about master plan statements. So really looking through a bunch of these portfolios is where you're going to see those. And they may not always be at the top where it explicitly says my master plan is, but often it will be like here. Stacy writes, I decided to expand my master plan to focus not only on marine mammals, but on ocean health in general. And she's getting into her purpose of her master plan.
This can also be a great way just to learn about others who have similar interests to you. So obviously these are folks that may have graduated or are in the midst of the capstone class from the fact that you can find their portfolios in here. But think about that, because sometimes you may be, maybe you're in marine conservation, but you're in an area where you're not really with a lot of other people that have that same interest. These might be people that you want to be able to collaborate and focus with also. So please use that search and just learn about others in the program. I know some of you like to see an example. Some people don't like to see an example because it makes you kind of, box your ideas in a certain way. But know that this is out there if you were to want to think about some different ways to connect, or just, I like how they organize the page, and it just gives you some ideas even on the styling of how it can work. Our thought is that these are public links too, so this could be something that you share with a future employer. This could be something you share with their current employer. Look what I've been working on during the time that I've been in the program. There's really a lot of phenomenal work that's in here. And like Kevin said, some of those page limit requirements have come over time just simply because the instructors have to eventually stop reading. So know that some of them might be a little bit longer than others, and that's just kind of an artifact of the fact that this is several years worth of information in here now. So let's see, what are you searching right now?
Native plants.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, there's some very creative things in here. So yeah, take a look, get inspired, and feel free to email these folks too.
Most definitely.
And if you need if you don't see how to email them, I think usually sometimes there's a bio at the bottom with an email.
Yeah.
So if you can't find it, like here we see Adam's contact. But if you can't find it, feel free to email Jill or I, or
definitely.
contact our main office, and we can get you in contact with people.
So that gives you an idea at least of how to look for portfolios if you want to be able to do that. And like Kevin showed, down that left-hand side of Dragonfly Workshops are a lot of those internal, kind of external links, right? So those link outside of the courses, but there's a lot of great information in there that we'd like to show you. You're also going to look at
the cohort.
Yeah.
So if you go to your cohort as well, cohorts. Now, you guys don't have all these cohorts, but we'll go into GFP 2019, and hopefully you've all looked through this because there's a lot of good information here. But just to, for those of you that are in the 2019 cohort, this master plan idea form is due at the end of this month. And it's a very quick form. We just wanted to highlight it for you guys. You can just put in your name and your location, your profession, some details about the program, who your advisor is, and again, your cohort will tell you who your advisor actually is. And then we're basically just looking for keywords and a working title for your master plan. So this is a very bare bones form, but it's to get you to kind of give you the chance, I should say, to commit to an idea at this point and be okay with that. If you're further along in the program, you may be at the point where you're thinking about your master plan detail. And for this one, there's not a form, but there's this Google Doc. And you can click on it. It'll open up here. I always get folks sending requests to edit this, but we don't want you guys to edit this Google Doc. What we want you to do, as it says here, highlighted at the top, is to download this form. So you go to File, and then you're going to go to Download, and download it as a Word doc or however you want that you can edit it, and then bring it to the field with you for that second Earth Expeditions, or even that third Earth Expeditions actually is fine too. So we just wanted to highlight those two things.
Would you go back real quick in the
Yep.
The other thing that's in this cohort, that same Dragonfly cohort, is that the first to do in that sequence talks about master plan, just in general. So it's one more look at what are we calling the master plan. So we wanted to talk today in a slightly different way than we've talked about at other times. And what's nice about the Earth Expeditions is each summer you're having a different group of instructors and facilitators talking about master plan in different ways. But this has a lot of those same links to the portfolios, showing you a little bit about some of the assignments that are along the way, some of the common questions that we get. So just one more look at the similar information. But I find sometimes if I'm reading it, kind of with different glasses on, I can get different pieces from that information. There's some general advice in here. And then there's the example that we offer you all that we discuss in the field that's part of your Earth Expeditions reader. So a lot of times we're talking about the course of study and when you're taking the courses, but it also talks about, if your example goal was, this one's on water conservation, this is just kind of, showing you the sequence of over the course of those 3 years, what are some of these different assignments that could fit under that context of a goal around youth-driven water conservation. So that might be helpful to you. It still has that same link to the student portfolios. And then the next page kind of just simply talks over, if you're in the MA versus the MAT program, there can be some differences there. And eventually when you're in the capstone course, you're actually in 2 different courses so that you're with folks that are focused on the Master of Arts in Biology or the Master of Arts in Teaching Biological Sciences. But this gives you some ideas of how those 2 courses, those 2 focus areas might be a little bit different. So use that as a resource as well if you'd like.
Cool. And then one more thing we wanted to show you guys was the Knowledge Center. If you click on the left, many of you may know this, but we actually have assignments, details for all of our core courses and Earth Expeditions generally here. So if you want to work ahead, and you can usually do that, although we are updating these usually to the last minute, but you can get a sense of these courses before you take them. So that's useful. But the other thing we just want to highlight regarding the publication, we had actually said does not need to be actually published, but of course we want you guys to get published. We don't want you to not get published. So these are examples of all the publications that have made it to press in various venues, and you can scroll through this if you haven't already to get an idea of where you might submit something. So this we hope can be inspiring for you guys. It's grouped by interest, so like animal conservation, and then you go down a little bit further, and there is another section on education. All right, so I think we're mostly to the end of this. I do see Sophia, Lynn, you wrote us one more question. You said, my understanding is that the capstone is a summary of all your work throughout the program and drawing connections between them. It doesn't include any new research or projects. Is that correct? That is absolutely correct.
Yes.
Yes. So you nailed it. That is how the capstone course functions. And I think, unless Jill, do you have anything else in mind? I don't see any other questions come in. Now is kind of your last chance in the next few seconds to pop anything in there.
No, I think that's great. I think the idea that this is something that is changing as you go, and just continue. I really find I benefit so much from just jotting down those ideas. What did I think I was interested in before? What am I interested in now? And who are those opportunities that are around me that I might be able to focus on is really a lot of fun. A lot of times at graduation we hear people say how this was just an excuse for people to work on the things that they always wanted to. So take it as that. Take it as this opportunity to be able to work on the ecological, social issues that you see around you that you've always wanted to be more a part of. The master plan can help you to do that.
Cool. So yeah, so thanks for joining us, whether it's your lunchtime, your breakfast, or you're watching this later at night after we've recorded. And just to show you we are real people here,
Yes.
and we love hearing from you guys. We're here to support you. So keep reaching out and keep thinking about things, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, bye guys.